Hello, my name is Penny Mechley-Porter, and I'm really glad you came today to this mindfulness exercise having to do with regret. So, regret is something we often don't talk a lot about because it's kind of uncomfortable to talk about. It's uncomfortable to think about. And for most of us, it's an uncomfortable way to feel. We might just want to try to shut down those emotions. Although it's also possible, maybe some of us are shutting down the emotions about regret, and maybe others of us are living in some ways in our emotions of regret. First question for you is, how does regret impact you? What feelings come along with regret? So maybe you can picture a situation that you do regret, whether it's a big one or a small one, it's up to you. I'd like you to check in with yourself and see where you feel regret. In your body or in your brain. And what thoughts do you have about regret? So often the thoughts start with something like, I should have known, I should have seen, I should have realized, or I shouldn't have said, I shouldn't have done. What was I thinking? So often regret really does have to do with these shoulds. I should have known better. I should have done better. And looking back, if you had all of the life experience and wisdom that you have today in this very moment, and we transplanted you in your current life, wisdom, knowledge, experience, and we transported you back to that time, your old self, it's quite possible you would make a different decision, right? I mean, it's really quite possible, quite likely, that you would handle that situation differently. But really, regret, part of why it's so difficult is because of the shame that comes along with it, and other emotions, shame, embarrassment, a big sense of failure, disappointment, sadness, so many other emotions can come with regret. And a lot of it is that sense of shame. I should have known better, done better. I shouldn't have, right? So before we get into our mindfulness practice regarding regret and releasing regret, because that's what we're about today. We're about releasing regret. Before we get into that, I did want to just say something that I know you already know. I'm not telling you anything you don't know. But, mistakes are a part of life. And missteps are a part of life. But it's so much easier to forgive others for mistakes and missteps. Like, think of a close friend or someone you love dearly. Well, you can, of course, you can love a close friend dearly. Hopefully you do love a close friend dearly. But think about how it feels easier to encourage a friend to let go of a regret or a sense of a mistake or a sense of failure. And it's so much easier to encourage a friend than it is to encourage oneself. Which is kind of unfair, because it's not really good to be that hard on oneself. Most of us do it. But it's worth practicing letting go of being so hard on ourselves. It's worth practicing letting go of regret. It's worth practicing letting go of shame. It's worth accepting that everybody does make mistakes, including ourselves. And all of that shoulding language, a lot of it's about, I should have known better. Well, maybe I didn't know better. So I'd like to read you a quote by Maya Angelou that my sister actually taught me just the other day. The quote is this: do the best you can until you know better. Then when you know better, do better. So I like the end of it in particular, just keeping it, the short version of it in my mind. When you know better, do better. Sometimes we're so surprised or horrified by things we've done. And that can be very difficult. Oftentimes we do hurt people, and we're not even sure why. If that's your experience, it's not just you. It can be hard to understand why we do things, what the motivation is. As a therapist, I often think it's related to just kind of unresolved stuff from other parts of our life that leaves us kind of wound, kind of tight. And the more tightly wound we are, the more we do things that don't necessarily make sense to ourselves or others. But we still get back to forgiveness, regret, forgiving ourselves. I know I've talked a lot. Let's get started with our mindfulness exercise. I invite you to close your eyes. Move around in your chair until you're comfortable. Relaxing into your chair. Allowing the chair to support you as you relax into the chair. Let's have you check in with your breath, noticing your breath, the inhalation, the exhalation. Bringing your awareness right to your breath and the movement of your body as you breathe. Bring into your mind a situation or an action that you do regret. Notice if it changes how you feel in your body. It's probably located in a place in your body, this sense of regret. And of course, it can have other emotions with it, but you're just kind of noticing where that is in your body as you bring this situation or event to mind. Sitting quietly with this feeling or feelings. Allowing them to be and observing how you feel in your body. Sticking with the feelings in the body rather than the thoughts. Especially if you can try not to shame yourself. You're just sitting with the facts of what happened, the difficulty of what happened. I'd like you to picture some flowers nearby. So bringing your awareness out of your body right now, using your imagination, to picture some flowers and a butterfly nearby. There it is on the flowers, and then flying around. Again, using your imagination to have that butterfly come into your body where that regret is being held, where you're holding that regret, having the butterfly come in and touch upon that regret and fly away with the regret. Allowing the regret to leave. Perhaps there are different aspects to the regret. Let's sit here for a few moments. And you can be having those butterflies come in and pick up regret and fly away with the regret. You allow that. And also allow the sunshine to shine in to that area. Where you feel regret. It's beautiful to have a butterfly coming in to relieve you and release you. And also having the warmth of the sun come into this place. It might feel like an empty place or a very dark place. But you're also allowing the sun to come into this space and heal with warmth. As you're working with your regret, bringing the butterflies and the sunshine in, I'd like you to know that you deserve forgiveness. We all do. And you deserve forgiveness and to forgive yourself. For this. Bringing your awareness back to your breath. I would like you to breathe throughout your whole body, but like picturing the breath coming in and moving through your body as a breeze, in and out. And that this breath comes in and moves around this whole area that has had so much regret. Moves around this area, moves through the area. Again, bringing the breath in through your body and specifically through this whole area or place or places where this regret has been stored. You're breathing over, around, through this area. I'd like you to trust your intuition now. When I ask if there's something else you can do to release this regret, to bring in healing, my idea of the butterfly, the sunshine, the breath. But you may have another idea of what you can do to bring in light and love and forgiveness, and to let go, to drop the regret, to release your burden. Trusting yourself, whatever came to mind to release your regret. And if part of you feels that you shouldn't release your regret, if part of you feels that you deserve to be in pain as a result of this thing that happened or that you did, then that's a very difficult way to feel. Oftentimes we feel as though if we made someone else suffer or we caused a difficulty, that we don't deserve healing and forgiveness by anyone else or by ourselves. But I'd like to say that that keeps us stuck. It doesn't allow for healing and growth and the learning that happens when we make mistakes. I propose that you do deserve forgiveness. And I don't use the word deserve lightly. I don't think everybody deserves a fancy car or wealth. But we all deserve forgiveness, to forgive ourselves and forgiveness by others. Coming back to your breath. Noticing your breath. Noticing that place where you were holding this regret or where it had held itself. Hopefully you feel lighter there. But if not, that's okay. If it's hard to release this regret, You can forgive yourself for that. But some of these ideas may be sinking in, and you can come back later and release more of this regret or of other regrets. I'd like you to take the love that you have for someone in your life. It could be a person who's alive or who's already passed. It could be your grandmother. It could be an animal you have today or had in the past. I'd like you to take the love that you have for that animal or person and see if you can take that very same love for this part of yourself who has been stuck with this regret. There's been a part of you that's been suffering. I'd like you to take that same love that you have for another and use that same love on this part of yourself who has been suffering. Again, coming back to the breath, we're going to wrap up. Coming back to your breath, feeling your feet on the floor or wherever they are, feeling your bottom against the chair, your back against a chair or a cushion, feeling yourself here in the present day, though we've just taken you back to another time. And whenever you're ready, I'd like you to open your eyes. I hope this has been helpful to you. I know I was going to read a couple of quotes that I like about failure. We didn't talk about this regret in terms of failure, but oftentimes they're pretty connected. There we go. Here's one I like by Thomas Edison. I have not failed. I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work. Of course, he's a scientist and he was very determined, but one could say he failed many times. Another one, I don't know, this is Bill Gates. It's fine to celebrate success, but it is more important to heed the lessons of failure. And sure enough, there are lessons in failure, lessons to ourselves about how we want to be, what we want to do better next time. Because we do the best we can until we know better. Then when we know better, we do better. Thanks for spending this time with me today. I'll be back again next Friday at noon at the Jefferson Educational Society live Facebook feed. I hope to see you next week.